get right into the divisions. Like I said, we're going to start with the AFC West. So how does it work? We were going to give 5 minutes per team, but there's only the two of us here tonight, so we'll probably shorten that time a little bit. We'll see how things go. Like I said, we'll start in the AFC West. And first up, we're going to start actually with the AFC West champs, and that's the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, they've had a lot of ins and outs, but it's also been quite a quiet off season for the Kansas City Chiefs. Of course, they've lost Tyreek Hill, which is a huge blow. They've lost a few other backup receivers in Byron Pringle and Demarcus Robinson, but they brought in the likes of Juju Smith-Schuster, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, and also I nailed it first go. I was so happy with that. It's going to be MVS for the rest of it now. And they, of course, drafted Sky Moore in the second round, who by all accounts has been having an excellent training camp too. But
you say that he had. Go on.
Sorry. I know. You didn't just fart on air, did you?
No, I dropped a coin.
That's what they all say. That's what they all say.
We far too loud. I'd have serious problems if that was a fart.
But anyway, losing Hill is obviously a huge blow. Like I said, they've had to retool the wide receiver position. They still have Travis Kelce, who's the best tight end in the NFL. The vets like Juju and MVS are going to help, especially with Sky Moore being the rookie. Like I said, by all reports, he's having a fantastic camp. But Jake, what have you felt with the moves in this offseason from the Kansas City Chiefs, specifically on the offense?
You mentioned that it was a quiet offseason for the Kansas City Chiefs, but then also right after that mentioned that they just lost their biggest, most expensive wide receiver probably in the league. I don't know where his contract lies, but I would say that is pretty big news, and it is a pretty big loss. But
when I say quiet, I mean like the Tyreek Hill thing is huge. Obviously, it's a big blow to lose Tyreek Hill, but I mean like that Tyreek news happened very quickly. Like the news broke that he's available to look for a trade, and then 2 days later, the trade to Miami was done. There was none of this dragging on. There was no like they're not in the news every day. They're just getting on with their stuff.
Yeah, well, anyway, that was a pretty big loss to them, I think, because he really fit that exact mold that the Chiefs really wanted to use him in. And obviously, as talented as he is going to be a big loss. But again, when you talk about a team like the Chiefs, who's leading the helm, Patrick Mahomes, does it really matter? You add someone like Juju Smith-Schuster, who is a fairly talented receiver, and then Sky Moore and stuff like that. It's certainly, I'm not worried about them. Can't really be worried about them when you have someone like that team, the play call and the coaching and stuff. It's a team that you're always going to be scared of.
Yeah. And there is one part of the offense that I still think that hasn't been addressed and I worry about, and that's a running back position. They're continuing Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Baby Clyde Edwards-Helaire out of this. He's my dynasty.
If he's on your dynasty team, you know more than others the amount of games he's missed. And at times how ineffective he can be too. He seems to... He goes through these purple patches where he's getting you multiple points in games, but then he'll have other games where you don't see anything. And, you know, their depth is still quite questionable as well. They still have Jerick McKinnon there. They've also gotten Ronald Jones in the offseason from Tampa Bay, someone that didn't, same as Clyde Edwards-Helaire, had decent patches, but wasn't that consistent running back that you need.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, he was holding my team up when he played, but when he wasn't playing, it was kind of shit. But yeah, I mean, they just don't seem to use him as effectively as maybe they could have, or maybe they just have so many tools on that team that you don't really need to force a ball into a running back's hands like a lot of other teams need to do to take the ball out of the quarterback's hands, maybe. But see how it goes for them.
Yeah. And on defense, a lot of chopping and changing as well. We've seen Jaron Reed, Tyrann Mathieu, Daniel Sorensen all leave the team, just to name a few. They brought in, obviously, the likes of, they got Justin Reed from the Texans. They've drafted another safety as well to help with that too. They of course drafted the cornerback Trent McDuffie in the first round with one of their first round picks, and their other first round pick they got George Khalifas, who's the defensive end. Karlaftis, sorry. So they are retooling a few things on the defense too. So because they were caught a little bit cold, I think, in the defense, especially like in the AFC Championship game against the Bengals, that their defense wasn't able to sort of deal with the sky bombardment that the likes of Burrow and Chase gave to them.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. I think their team motto maybe last year and the year before was, if we score on every single offensive drive, our defense doesn't need to do anything. So I feel like that's what they had planned. That's what went for them. But then obviously when it came down to the important games, they hadn't got enough tools on defense to stop another explosive offense like the Bengals. So certainly losing a player like Tyrann Mathieu, but then you replace him with Justin Reed, who is maybe not as good, but still fairly talented player, and then drafting George Karlaftis and stuff, it's going to help. And I'm not sure, is Spagnuolo there still their defensive coordinator?
He's still there.
Yeah, he seems like I liked him on the Giants. I thought he was a decent defensive coordinator. So if he can bring back a defense into a strong position, or even above average, the team is probably going to do fairly well again.
Yeah, this is the thing with the team too, that especially I know with the moves that other teams have made that we've gotten into in that division, I still feel that the you have Patrick Mahomes, you're still going to be the team to beat in this division. And I think that, I think it's going to take a lot to dethrone them as the AFC West champions. But we'll move on. We'll move on to the team vying to go from worst to first in the division, and that's the Denver Broncos. Because they finished their record last year, 7-10. We have, of course, Russell Wilson coming in as part of that big trade from the Broncos. They've also added some stuff on defense too, with the likes of Randy Gregory, DJ Jones, Kawon Williams coming in as well. They've lost a few in terms of, especially with that big trade with the likes of Noah Fant, Shelby Harris, Drew Lock, Kyle Fuller, Bryce Callahan has left. They drafted probably one of the more interesting defensive linemen or outside linebackers in Nick Bonito as well in the draft. But before I get into it, Jake, I'll let you start on this one. The Denver Broncos, how are you feeling about them this year?
I'm certainly feeling a lot better than I was about them last year. I never had any faith in Drew Lock or whatever else they trotted out there at certain points throughout the year. Big move, big balls going for Russell Wilson, and as much as Fionn likes to argue that he's fallen off a cliff, he's still better than probably the top 20 quarterbacks in the league at the minute on a bad day. So certainly looking better. They've got a lot of offensive weapons. They've got decent offensive play calling. I think Pat Shurmur is their offensive coordinator, who was quite good as an offensive coordinator on the Giants. I think they also had Randy Gregory, the defensive end from the Cowboys. Yeah. That's going to be another big one, a big signing for them, just to even hold up the defensive end, even though the offense is going to be where the focus is for this team now.
Yeah, just to let you know that Pat Shurmur is not the defensive coordinator anymore.
Offensive coordinator. Is he?
Offensive,
who is now?
Justin Outen.
Okay, well then I have no idea how that's going to go. I have never heard that name in my entire life.
Shurmur was the offensive coordinator when Vic Fangio was still in charge.
Okay. Yeah. Right. Okay.
Because Nathaniel Hackett now is a rookie.
The Packers offense coordinator is the head coach there now. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm still not too worried about it. I'm sure it's when you have a top quality quarterback and some weapons like the Broncos do, the team's got to be all right.
Yeah. Well, my view, and we'll just sit back and get ready for this.
Hang on, I need popcorn.
No, but seriously, Denver thought that all they were missing was a quarterback, and that's why they went after Russell Wilson. And for all those intentions, I believe that's true as well. They do have a very talented attacking core of the likes of Sutton and Judy, and they had Noah Fant, but I can't remember the name of the backup tight end for the life of me, but I think they're very happy to have him there instead of Fant anyway. So they have Russell Wilson. Now, I know more than most that the type of player that they're getting, but it's not just a player that they're getting. I think that's what some people are forgetting. It's a new scheme that they're going to be getting, because Russ is going to play the way Russ always has played. I don't think that's going to change. And I think as well, with a rookie head coach trying not to upset everything straight away, I think he'll lean into what more Russ wants to do. If you remember, a couple of weeks ago, I got the chance to speak to NFL film analyst Alex Rollins. We spoke about like Russ coming into a new team with a rookie head coach. Is not a situation I particularly like. Hackett will allow Russ, like I said, to do what he wants. And what I feel is for the first 8 games, like first half of the season, Russ is going to be fantastic. I do believe that. I think he is going to actually do very well with the Broncos. It's what we've seen the last couple of years with the Seahawks as well. They start hot. And Russ is on track to get his first MVP vote ever, because that's the narrative that he's never gotten an MVP vote. But then it comes to the second half of the year when teams start to figure out what he's doing. They throw those 2 high safeties in and he struggles. Mostly because he doesn't like hitting the middle of the field. He doesn't. He likes hitting it outside those numbers. The thing is, I obviously I still believe he's going to win games in Denver, but the thing that I have an issue is a lot of people are putting Denver down as either an AFC Championship team or, to the other extent, a Super Bowl team already. They're already booking their flights for Arizona in February, and I don't think that is the case. I still, like I said, think he's going to get wins. I think he's going to probably get double the wins that the whole Seahawks team is going to get this coming year. But I just feel when he comes up against those greater defenses that know how to deal with him, I think he's going to struggle. And I think that we will see what we've seen the last few years. Just an interesting one here. Just like since 2014, Russ has only won 3 playoff games for a team with the Seahawks that were in the playoffs every year apart from 2 years since 2014. So and those wins were against the Minnesota Vikings in a game that was 10-9 in that like ice game, if you remember that, against the Lions, and then against the Eagles that were led by Josh McCown. I don't think it's talked about that Russ has had a lot of struggles recently against decent defenses, and I think that's going to be their undoing at the end of it. I said like they'll probably come second in division, have enough for a playoff wild card maybe, and I don't know if they'll get past the wild card round. But I just think that Russ's greatest strength can turn into his weakness as well, because that's what he wants to do all the time. That's just my point of view.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I think it's going to take them like this year. It's not a write off as such, but I certainly don't think they're going to the end here. So, I do think that they're probably going to have to play up this year and accept that they're going to probably finish, maybe get through the wildcard round if they're very lucky, and otherwise they're just going to have to wait till next year and try draft something, figure out what the missing piece from this coming year will be.
Yeah, look, they are going to have a difficult decision as well, because they might play this year, but then Russ will only have 1 year left on his current deal after that. And Russ won't go into the final year without having a new contract. So then it'll be up to the Broncos if they're going to give that money. We're talking about $50 million a year to Russ, who will be 34, 35 at that stage. And if he still shows the same trend, or if he's going down that same road where he's going to struggle that he did in Seattle, then the Broncos are going to have to make a decision.
Yeah, I don't see them not paying them for kind of everything they've had to do to acquire him, but maybe if he has 1 year left and he's played pretty decent, a quarterback needy team will overpay for him again, like the Broncos probably did too.
You talking about the Giants now, are you?
No, God, no. I don't want Russell Wilson. Do I want to be set back again? No, thank you. I've had 10 years of this shite.
Yeah, like I said, like I mentioned, through they're still going to win games. They're still going to win a lot more games than Seattle will, and they're still probably going to win enough games to make it to the playoffs. I just don't get the talk of AFC Championship or Super Bowl. That's just my issue with it.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, I'm with you on that one.
But we'll move on, and we're going to move on to Fion's favorite quarterback and his team, I was going to say LA. Sorry, Las Vegas Raiders. Of course, they had an interesting year last year, making it to the playoffs and losing in the wild card round to the Bengals. They, of course, brought Devontae Adams in with that massive trade with the Green Bay Packers, as well as bringing in, of course, veteran pass rusher Chandler Jones. They have they did not draft until the third round this year in the draft, and they brought in in the third round especially, they brought in running back Zamir White, who by all accounts has been very exciting so far in training camp with them. Derek Carr and Adams reunited from college. New coach McDaniels, like we mentioned, had a few draft picks. They brought in a lot of players with free agency, and a lot of what you call probably the journeyman players. Players that are just there to just fill a hole for a year or two because of the lack of draft picks that they've had. The attacking trio, of course, of Waller, Adams, and Renfro is always going to be dangerous. But at the moment in the depth chart rankings, Josh Jacobs is still ranked as the RB1, which I probably don't think is going to stay like that for long, especially with Kenyon Drake there. And like I mentioned, Zamir White, I think that they will probably push up, and we'll see maybe Jacobs reps probably and go down as the season wears on. A little warning for you fantasy owners if you haven't done your draft yet. On defense, Chandler Jones and Max Crosby are going to be very fun together. They're going to be very, very fun. But in the backfield, I have a lot of issues. I think that, especially with the likes of Jonathan Abrams, I am ready to kind of put him in the bust category. I don't think he's performed too well. They have Trevor Mooring in the other safety position, who is in the second year. I think he's going to actually play quite well. But I think, the backfield needs work. The defensive line is going to be fun. And then on offense, of course, with Derek Carr. I know, like, Jake, you're not his biggest fan. Fiona's definitely not his biggest fan. But I don't have a problem with it. I think Carr is fine. I think we talked about it in a group chat that he is the new like Andy Dalton scale of like mediocre quarterbacks. Like, he's fine. Like, if there's no one else out there and you're not going and you don't want to like trade away your future to get one of the franchise guys, like Derek Carr is fine to have around.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Like, I mean, he's fine, but do you want fine at quarterback? No, like, fine is what you have when your main quarterback goes down. You want fine. You want someone who's not going to lose you games. For the most part, Derek Carr is not going to lose you a game. But he's been on that Raiders team since, I don't know how long, fucking 15 years or 12 years, whatever it may be at this time. It's far too long for a quarterback to have virtually no success and still be on the team. But I'll give them this year. They said, fuck it, we're going to give him what he needs. We're going to give him Devontae Adams. We're going to give him, keep him Darren Waller, and we're going to keep Hunter Renfro, and then see what he can do finally with some better players around him. And as you mentioned there, the journeyman kind of veterans that they signed, but I think they're not necessarily a bad idea, because it's a lot of time that can be quality depth when your main running back goes down or your main defensive lineman goes down. You have a half decent guy who needs to come in and spell them for a couple of plays. So I think at least they're kind of building something around them more so than they've had maybe in recent years. But certainly that defense needs a little bit of a look. That's going to be a worrisome one. I know that Pat Graham is the defensive coordinator now. He was the defensive coordinator of the Giants last year, and he's quite good, although he does have a very bend don't break, and he's plays a lot of soft, and it's doesn't often suit. It's infuriating to watch because it'll take maybe 5 minutes or 10 minutes to get up the field, and in the end they just score a field goal. But it's just wasting so much time on defense. But if you have a more explosive offense, maybe if the Raiders can get up the field and score some more points now with more firepower, then it's going to look a lot better for them.
Yeah, I agree with that. And the thing is with the Raiders, out of the 4 teams in this division, they are the hardest for me to evaluate and what could happen with them. Like, they could finish first, they could finish fourth, they can finish in any of those positions. With the other teams, you're kind of like, well, I don't think they're going to be last in the division, if you know what I mean. I think like someone is going to have to finish, of course, last in this division this season. Crazy to think, because if you look at all 4 rosters, they're really good rosters. They would probably win most divisions if they were in any other division. But it's just how stacked the AFC West has become in this offseason alone. But we'll see. Like I said, we'll keep a close eye on the Raiders and see how things are going there. Like I said, like you were mentioning, they give him Devontae Adams maybe this year and next year, and then we'll see what they have. If nothing's coming on, then they might, because they're in Vegas as well, they want to make that big splash and make that big trade for a quarterback, because obviously the year after this coming season, the Super Bowl is in Las Vegas. So I'm sure they'd love to be going to a home Super Bowl. So if that means they have to go after one of the big quarterbacks, I'm sure they would. I'm sure they would give it a try.
Yeah, come here. If Derek Carr still can't get it done with all these tools, it's time to let him go. I'm sorry, Raiders fans. He's done absolutely average to above average, and that's not what you need.
Yeah. And finally, on the AFC West side of things, and probably not the team that we think will finish last, at least I don't think they'll finish last in the division, is the LA Chargers. They, of course, didn't make the playoffs famously last year. They lost in game week 18 against the Raiders for them to go to the playoffs and not the Chargers. They've had a busy offseason as well, bringing in the likes of Khalil Mack with that trade from Chicago, JC Jackson, one of the highest free agents or the best free agent, this past offseason. Interesting enough, they brought in Gerald Everett, the tight end, as well, just to name a few. Not many left of note. They've lost Troy Reader, Uchenna Owosu. They brought in some really good depth as well when it comes to, especially on the line with Zion Johnson, I should say, with their first round pick. They got JT Woods, the safety, in the 3rd round, and they've got a new backup for Austin Eckler in the form of Isaiah Spiller in the 4th round as well. So the big issue for them last year that they had to address was the run. Defending the run, especially because teams ran over them last year and they could not do anything to stop it. So the likes of Khalil Mack coming in here, they also brought in Sebastian Joseph Day and Kyle Van Noy to help things in the run game, which is huge. Of course, JC Jackson, like we mentioned, get one of the most well-paid cornerbacks in the league. There's still question marks over Derwin James because he is holding out at the moment looking for a new contract. So we still have to wait and see how that pans out. Hopefully they can get everything sorted out on that for them. On offense, of course, Justin Herbert just takes another step forward here. It's just, if you've seen the pictures, I don't know if you saw the pictures in the offseason of like his transformation. Like each year, it looks like he puts on about like 10 to 15 pounds of muscle.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable. I can do that too, but that's just fat in one sitting, you know.
Same, yeah. I gain 10% of muscle every year, but it's 20% fat as well.
Like I said, they drafted Isaiah Spiller to back up Austin Eckler after Justin Jackson moved on. I think he went to the Lions actually in the end. More building blocks in that O-line. Mike Williams gets his deal, so he stays alongside Keenan Allen in that wide receiver position. The Gerald Everett acquisition is interesting to me because he can be a very, very good tight end. His problem is he drops the ball and he doesn't make the easy catches sometimes. I think like that. And look, we both know where you've already thought about catching the ball in your head and you're already running upfield and then you've realized that the ball's falling on the ground. So I think that's a problem that if he can sort that out, he is going to be a vital piece for the Chargers this season. And of course, I should mention Brandon Staley and his second year in charge as head coach as well. So he's held in such high regards by the Charger fan base too, and Charger media as well. So we'll be looking for him to take another step forward. But Jake, your thoughts on the Chargers heading into this season?
Yeah, the Chargers one of them teams that I just thought had one of the most ideal off seasons that you could have asked for any of the teams. They recognized the weakness and they attacked it with depth signings, draft, big names. They got Khalil Mack. I think it was very cheap, that trade. I can't remember what it was, but for a player of his stature, it was fairly cheap. If I remember
correctly, was it a second and a fifth or something like that?
Something maybe? So ridiculous that didn't make any sense. But they recognize, as you said, they were weak in the run. They got him. They got Kyle Van Noy, as you said. Then they beefed up the secondary with J.C. Jackson, one of the better cornerbacks in the league currently. We all know that the Chargers could score on offense, but now they have a defense to back up when they eventually have to end up playing the Chiefs or someone high scoring as well. Now they have a defense that can really slow them down and put the brakes on them.
Yeah.
And then on the other side, obviously, Justin Herbert, as you said, he just seems to take leap and bounds every year. So just excited. They're like probably the most exciting team to look out for because they're not an unknown entity, but they're unknown in the fact that they have so much to improve on now.
Yeah. And again, like that, I think there is, we do have to be a little wary about the Chargers as well, because in similar to the Broncos, how I explained that I think some people are, already booking their ticket to Arizona for the Super Bowl. We thought that last year with the Chargers, they didn't make it out of the AFC West. So, I think that this is going to have to be a stage thing for especially for Justin Herbert, who I don't believe he's played a playoff game. He didn't in his first year, did he?
No, I don't think he has.
No, he did. He definitely obviously didn't last year either. So I think that even just getting to a playoff game, giving him that experience is going to be vital for possibly the next year after that, because I'd assume, because that would be his fourth year. So after this season, he'd be eligible, I think, for an extension. But I think they'll wait until the year after to see what happens before he gets an extension. And God only knows the sort of money he's going to be getting from the Chargers in about 2 years' time.
It's going to be huge. We all know it's going to be huge. But it can't be record-breaking above Mahomes or something unless he ends up winning the Super Bowl beforehand.
It doesn't matter. It's all about next person up gets the money. It doesn't matter whether or not he's won the Super Bowl.
I think, well, I don't think he's beating that contract. I don't think anyone is until
you
it's.
Never know. With how much the cap is projected to go up next year alone, and then maybe we'll see what happens the year after that.
Maybe, I don't know. I just don't see them unless he has proven more. As we said, we don't think he's won a playoff game. So if he still hasn't done that by the time his contract extension is, can you really justify giving him that much money? Well, maybe you can, I suppose.
Possibly not. But I think that's a good place to end the first part of actually the show. That is the AFC West covered. Very quickly, Jake, I'm asking you here on the spot, so think quickly your order of who's winning the division 1 to 4.
Okay, hang on. I don't actually know them off the top of my head, so can you list them out and I'll tell
you? Okay, so with the 4 teams we just talked about, the Chargers, the Broncos, the Raiders, and the Chiefs.
I'll go Chiefs, Chargers, Raiders, and Broncos.
Broncos 4th. Ooh.
Just I don't think it's going to go as well for them as they planned. I know it's either boom or bust for them, so it could be a bit boom, I think.
Did I get into your head with my Russell Wilson doubts?
You may have swayed me a little bit. I was on your offense at the start of the podcast, and now I've fallen into your camp, I think.
I'm going to go Chiefs, Chargers, Broncos, and Raiders, I think. I think the Raiders,
I'm going to go with Derek Carr keeping you almost interested enough to keep him.
Keep him feeling pissed off more than that. Not. How is he doing this? We are going to take, but like I said, we're going to wrap this part. We're going to take a quick break.